Welcome to the next episode of Green and Growing, a podcast inspired by my dad, Jack Perry, and dedicated to the world of self-improvement in any area of your life that's important to you. Not just what society thinks, but what's going to make your life better. Welcome and join us on this episode.
And at any environment, tools are going to be important. We talked about tools and you talked about tools. What are some of the tools that are available? Obviously, tools help a person. If they bring all of that to the table, tools can help.
So I think the number one tool, and this is something Jack poured into me a long time ago, is that, and it actually relates to another movie that I think is one of your favorites, Miracle on Ice. The name on the front of the jersey is a lot more important than the name on the back. The company you work for is important, but it's nowhere near as important as the person you work for. Go back to when you and I were in New York together, and let's say that you wanted to work at Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs being, the holy grail of investment management back then and even today. And you could say, I work for Goldman Sachs, but if you work for a person there who is not helping you grow, not helping you develop, not giving you the guidance to move up into the real estate world faster, then you're at the wrong place. You need to have the right person. So I think that who you work with at a place like EXP is a huge, huge issue. If you're working with somebody that just isn't your cup of tea, you're probably going to have some issues. You're going to have some problems. But if you have aligned yourself with a mentor that's going to help you, it's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. Other tools that are provided. There are over 50 online education classes per week. 50. And they're all free. They're open to anybody. You log into the world, you attend, ask questions, this and that, on all kinds of topics. Relocation department. I mentioned Bundle Select, where you can become the realtor at a particular company. We also have a tool called ZenList. ZenList is absolutely fantastic. So in the world of real estate, you have the MLS, multiple listing service, where everybody puts their listings and people can see them in your local area. Well, sometimes there are people who don't want to have the whole world coming to their house, and they want something that is more of what you'd call a private listing or a pocket listing. And the neat thing is that in the rest of the industry, you can only share that with your office and the handful of agents that you have a personal relationship with, you've worked with in the past, et cetera. At EXP, we don't have offices. So guess where, if you're talking to a company that wants to only promote a listing inside their office, and let's say they're down here on Bayside Drive in Newport Beach and they got 25 agents, okay, you got 25. How many offices does EXP have? Zero. So guess where we can share it? All over the world. Because EXP is a global company with 48 offices, we have agents in 48 different countries, but we have no offices. So if I want to share a listing privately within EXP, it gets pushed out to 100,000 realtors all over the world. Because real estate is no longer just in your little hood. You got people moving from all over the country to go to certain places, especially in a place like Colorado, which is a destination place. So to have your own private network, phenomenal. Another tool is their luxury program. We actually have somebody in charge of our luxury office or our luxury program at EXP that started at, I believe, Sotheby's, and then was part of Compass's launch into their luxury side. And they have built an entire suite of tools just designed for luxury real estate. That came from where other luxury stuff was built originally. And it comes with a network of other luxury agents. So let's say I've got a buyer that really wants to buy something, $15, $20, $25 million in Newport Beach. Well, guess what? I can call an EXP luxury agent in Newport, and they're going to know how to take care of my client the way I would if they were coming to Denver. So the luxury department is great. I mentioned ZenList. We talked about Bundle Select. Your CRM. So our customer relationship management system is free. It's all included. And this CRM, it's KV Core. where you basically, they give you your own website, and the website is all included. You can customize it the way you want. You can utilize things like pay-per-click from Google, other types of online ads, which I'm sure you're aware of. And that then can bring leads into your CRM that then you're nurturing either through email. They incorporate BombBomb into their CRM. So if you want to send video messages. And so if you're an agent and you're saying, well, God, I got to hire a website designer and I need a CRM and I got to learn how to do this, it's all baked in. It's already there. They have all of your transaction documents are handled through SkySlope, which is an online cloud-based file cabinet, and they send you an update every single week based on your transaction. We have this document. We have this document. We're missing this document, so they keep you in line. An entire suite of tools in the back office so they can show you where are you relative to your goals and where are you relative to the different benchmarks. Well, let's say you've got a big stock award that you're getting close to. They're telling you in real time, here's how close you are. You got a big cash award that's right within reach. Here's where you are. Here's what you got to do. You get where I'm going. It is basically any tool you'd find anywhere else and more. But the number one thing, all the tools, if I have a hammer, it's just going to sit there till I pick it up and use it. And you're not going to use every tool at EXP.
Right.
You can't. I would tell people, get to know what's there and see which ones fit your business. But they're all included. You're not paying extra for anything there. So it's, again, this speaks back to the most agent-centric brokerage in the world.
So you've got the tools, and I love what you said about being able to, you can have the tools, but you still got to pick them up.
That's right.
Let's talk personal branding. That's something that obviously Jack was one of the greats before social media, but he built this brand. You have built this brand. How important is personal branding? What are the keys to it? What would you suggest as a realtor is starting out? How important is that to the whole thing?
At the end of the day, it's interesting. There have been companies, and I'm going to take a little roundabout to get where you're going. There have been companies that have tried to disrupt the real estate space for decades. There was a company called Assist to Sell, where it's just this low cost. We'll put a sign in the yard and we'll get it done for you. It didn't do so well. They're around, but it never really took off. Then there was a company in Denver called Treelora, which is basically realtor with the letters all jumbled up. And they basically advertised that you could sell your house for 1% and you didn't have to pay this guy over here. And okay. And everybody was all up in arms like, oh my God, what are you going to do? Well, I'll never forget when I was running my office, and at the time I think we had about 55, 60 agents that were working with me, and there's all this hullabaloo over it. And I said, okay, guys, here are the numbers of Treelora. Here's how many houses they sold. Here's how much money they sold. I mean, the volume, et cetera. And people were looking at it. And I said, is that a lot? I'm like, well, yeah, that's pretty significant. I said, great. And then I put up another set of numbers without a name on it. I said, do these look better? And they're like, yeah. I said, can anybody tell me what company that is? Because it's about 25% more than what Treelora was doing. And they're like, oh, it's ABC company. No. Oh, it's XYZ company. No. It's LMOP company. No. Okay, who is it? It's our office. Our office is doing more than their whole company. So stop being afraid of the boogeyman and go out there and do what you do. I bring this up because throughout history, there have been, and then Zillow comes along, right? And Open Door and Orchard, and there's a number of others that they keep wanting to try to get to the consumer and cut out the realtor. And this has been going on for decades. You may or may not be aware of this, but in 2023, if I'm not mistaken, it might be 2022, 98% of all homes sold used a realtor. 98%. So with all of these other options, at the end of the day, when it comes time for somebody to actually say, I'm going to sell one of my, or buy one of my most valuable assets, I need a pro. because if I screw it up, I got to answer to my spouse. And I don't want to. I'd rather point the finger at the realtor if they screw it up. So at the end of the day, if the 98% are still using a realtor, then you got to ask yourself, how do you decide on the realtor? Because there are realtors at ABC Company, and let's say it's a big national brand that everybody knows the name. Well, maybe that agent has only sold one house in the last 5 years. Scott, do you know what they call the guy that finishes last in med school?
What?
Doctor. I don't want that guy operating on me. So at the end of the day, it's not the company, it's the agent. And what I like to tell people, if you are thinking about personal branding and are you going to make it your own, my brother, Matt, gave this to me. Real estate is all about who knows who you are, what you do, where you do it, and how you do it. Nowhere in there did it say company name. Who are you, right? It's not always the company. In fact, I would say 90% of the time it's not the company. It's the person. Yeah. It's the man in the arena. And I would tell any buyer or seller, when you're going to choose an agent, look for three things. And this goes if you're hiring a lawyer, if you're hiring a realtor, if you're hiring a doctor, I mean, anybody that's important to you that's going to have a significant event. Number one, are they an expert at what they do? Not are they perfect, but are they an expert at what they do? Because nobody's perfect. Number two, do I honestly believe that they have my best interests at heart more than their own? Is my home more important than their check? And the third thing is, do we have a really good communication style? Because it's kind of like dating. If the first date doesn't go so well, Scott, it's been 34 years since I've been on a date. That wasn't my wife. I've been on a lot of dates with my wife, but if you think of it this way, if the first date doesn't go well, does the second date get any better?
No.
Never. So we're going to have conversations through this real estate process that are maybe uncomfortable. Go through the inspection process, and the buyer's going to give you a list of 17 things that are wrong with your most precious possession. And you're going to feel offended by this. You're not going to come together and sing Kumbaya. You're going to have an awkward conversation. And you have to be able to have a great communication style that can be candid, open, forthright, where you're all in the boat rowing in the same direction. So if you can find somebody, a professional, realtor, lawyer, doctor in the real estate world, are they an expert? Do they have a great communication style? And do they have me at heart more than their own check? You get that right, you probably have a great agent on your hands. If you are a realtor and you're thinking about personal branding, you've got to exude all three of those. Be a great communicator of what your brand does. Be a great communicator of your expertise. Be a great communicator that this is not about you, it's about them. At the end of the day, they're going to hire the agent, not the company. 72% of the Denver market is non-major national brand. And it's been that number for about 30 years. So when you think about the big national brands, whether it's a Coldwell Banker, or a Sotheby's, or a Remax, or a Keller Williams, that's only 28% of the market. 72% are going to be small, mom and pop, could be a company like an EXP, et cetera. But you get my point.
Yep.
So personal branding, to me, if you are going to be in this for the long haul, people don't always say, I need to call an agent at such and such company. They say, I need to call Wade Perry. And that's the difference between personal branding and working for a company.
Outsourcing.
Yeah.
When do you outsource? How do you outsource? What are your recommendations on outsourcing?
Great question. So outsourcing. The agent who has a pacemaker I referred to earlier, she gave me a book called Who Not How. And it really hit me between the eyes. because that book talks about entrepreneurs suffer from wanting to do everything. We need to do X. And what he's really saying in his brain is, how do I do that? And what he needs to ask is, who's going to do that? And so outsourcing becomes critical for all of the things that aren't going to be worth your hourly wage. So if my time is, say, $300 an hour, anything that is less than that, I need to find somebody else to do it. Now, are there tasks that I do? You bet. In real estate, we are all a 501c3 until we sell something. Until we get to the closing table, we're working for free. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of things like, let's say that it's stuff that needs to go onto my website. I'm outsourcing it. Let's take Camille. Let's take you. You and Camille are two of the best things that have happened to my business in the last 10 years. And it's not even close. Because when I wanted to get into social media, it was not worth my time. I was spending a lot of time trying to learn it and realizing I didn't know what I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. Didn't know where to go. And I was spending a lot of time trying to figure it out. And time that should have been spent kneecap to kneecap with people. Well, guess what? You know how to do it. Camille knows how to do it. And that is some of the best money I spend every month, bar none. I was not skeptical. I didn't have even a moment when I questioned it. But when I look down and I say, that's outsourcing because it's giving me leverage. I'm basically paying, I'm going to make this up, $10 to $12 an hour for somebody who's a virtual assistant halfway around the world instead of me spending $300 an hour on my own time. A website, hire somebody else. Social media, hire somebody else. Designing your print marketing, hire somebody else. I always laughed when somebody in my office, an agent, would say, well, I got to make this flyer. And I'll never forget looking at this one agent and say, well, let me ask you something. Are you in the real estate business or are you in the flyer business? What business are you in? And if you're in whatever it is, give everything else to somebody else. I knew a guy in a prior industry when I was wholesaling, and I'm going to relate this because it's about outsourcing, and he never drove. Every day, a limo would pick him up, a driver, a town car, and he'd ride in the back, and he'd be on the phone, he'd be on his laptop, he'd be working from appointment to appointment all day, every single day. And this was in about 1994, and he made $1 million. That was a lot of money in 1994. It's a lot of money now. Outsource whatever is not worth your time.
Which helps you manage your time more effectively.
Precisely.
How do you
And that's where tools come in. Because tools can do a lot of heavy lifting.
What are some of the tools you use to help manage your time? So people, I think, struggle with how to manage their time. They get distracted. They start scrolling on social media. What tools, what hacks, what suggestions do you have for managing your time? And how important is it?
It's everything. It's absolutely everything. So I'm going to put it this way. What is the most valuable commodity in the world? Time. By the way, he's the second guy to get it right in about 500 people. That's good. You can't make more of it, right? 86,400 seconds in a day. I used to say this to people all the time. You have 86,400 seconds a day. If you had a bank account and I put $86,400 in it at midnight tonight, and tomorrow you could spend it any way you want, think for a moment, what would you spend it on? One trick. At midnight the following night, whatever you don't spend, I'm going to take back. Would you waste a single dollar?
No, not a dollar. Not a dollar.
Well, you have it. It's called the Bank of Time. 86,400 seconds every single day. You've got it. You have to be precious with it. Now, here's one of the most important things that people need to understand. You're not always, I said this earlier, you're not going to always be motivated, but you can always be disciplined. And there's an amazing book. You've read the book Atomic Habits. Mm-hmm. If you haven't read it, go get it. We'll do a review on it later. But if you think about it, small action, big results, right? Leverage. There's an accompanying book, different author. By serendipitous good luck, I read these books back to back. And the second book is The Power of Full Engagement. And it talks about if time is the most valuable commodity, because I can't make more of it, right? A commodity you can't make more of. What's the most valuable currency?
Attention.
Close. Energy.
Energy, okay.
Right? I can make more energy. But if you think about it, I need to know, when am I at my best? When is my energy at its best and in the day?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to marry up the most important, profitable tasks of the day with when I'm at my best. Now, when you're at your best isn't necessarily a time on the clock. It is for most people, but you also need to start thinking is, what am I eating? What am I drinking? How am I sleeping? What are the things that I am doing to create, as Tony Robbins would say, that peak mental state? How can I get into state by what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, how I'm sleeping, how I'm meditating, what I'm reading? And that eventually will start to pour in, and you'll start to realize at these hours of the day, I am unstoppable. At these hours of the days, not so much. So I would say, how important is managing? Go back to the original question.
Managing time.
What
tools do you use? How do you manage your time?
The first tool is you've got to take great care of the machine. That's your body and your mind. And because bodies in motion tend to stay at motion, bodies at rest stay at rest. So number one, you got to get 8 hours of sleep. Are you listening?
Yes, I'm
Get
listening.
8 hours of sleep.
Well, I know.
Because I know you don't go to. I know you don't go to bed at 7 o'clock.
That one hit me, but I was thinking about my daughter. Body is in motion, tend to stay in motion. Body at rest tends to stay in motion. She sleeps the morning away, and she says I'm tired because she's not getting out of bed.
I'll tell you a different book in a moment to address that.
Okay.
So number one, you got to get 8 hours.
Got it.
Number two, 100 ounces of water a day minimum. We are 80-90% water.
Yep.
Your brain functions with great water. If you don't have enough water, guess what? Your cellular function at the microcellular level doesn't work well.
Right.
You end up accumulating toxins. Those toxins affect how you think. They affect your energy level. You're sluggish, etc. Then obviously we get to food. When are you eating? How much are you eating? What are you eating? Are you eating? Do you ever order food through your window? God, you better say no. Never order through the window. Sugar.
I still remember when you posted something about I was getting Jack in the Box, and you filled up my Facebook feed. No.
Don't do it. Sugar is arguably the most addictive, most damaging substance on the planet. You got to stay away. Don't get me wrong. I do love sugar. I put it over there. So you've got to create inside of you the right environment by what you eat, what you drink, how you sleep, what you read, what you meditate. Then we get to the actual day. And that is, all right, when do I do each of these things? And you've heard the story of the pickle jar.
No, tell me the story of the pickle jar.
Okay, so this is a professor, and I know you know the story. You just may not know it by that title. He brings in a pickle jar.
Right.
Big pickle jar, right? And by the way, Izzy Cisneros, that's for you. You're the pickle queen. So big pickle jar. And the professor comes in, and he starts filling it with rocks, right? Rocks that are bigger than golf balls. And he fills it all the way to the brim, and he asks the class, and the class is just looking at him, right? He hasn't even introduced himself to the class yet or what they're going to do today. And he says to the class, is the jar full? And the class says, yeah, you can't put another one in there. And he brings in small little pea gravel. And he starts filling. It comes out of the top. Is it full? Yeah, it's full. You can't put anything else. Then he brings sand, and he packs the sand in. Now it's just leveled off, right? Like you were building a sand castle at the beach. And now is it full? And like, yes, it is full now. You know what he does next?
Water.
Brings a pitcher of water, and he fills it up again. It's a metaphor for prioritizing the big rocks of life first. Imagine what your life would look like if you reversed the order and you put the water in first. Yeah. You'd never get a grain of sand in there. Right. So what are the big rocks? regardless of whether you want to build a great real estate business, you want to run a triathlon, whatever it is you want to do, there's one thing in common with every single major thing you want to accomplish, and that is your body and your mind. You've got to take care of those. They have to be priority one, because all the other tools, online, gadgets, apps, this, that, aren't going to do anything if the rest of it isn't working. So for me, like you, my day starts not at 3:30. My day starts at 4:45. I'm kind of a slacker next to him. But from 4:45 to about 7:45, those 3 hours are my workout, my wellness drink, my meditation, my reading, going through the day, etc. Then we get into it. Now, I've taken care of me. Now it's time to start talking about what are we actually going to do. My best time of the day, I'm a morning guy. I am from 8 a.m. till about 2. I am unstoppable. You know when I'm not good? 4 o'clock.
I was gonna say.
4 o'clock, I'm not. Can I do things? Sure. I'm not taking a nap. I'm not tired. I'm not sitting at a 7-Eleven scarfing down Skittles and a Mountain Dew. No. But I know I'm not good at 4 o'clock because I started at 4:30, 4:45. At 4 in the afternoon, I'm not good. Right. So guess what? We do not do real estate appointments after 4 o'clock because I know I can't give my buyer or my seller the best of me. It's not fair to them that I show up at 50, 60, or 70% of my best. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to my teammates on my real estate team that I'm not going to bring my best. I would much rather meet somebody at 9:30 on a Saturday morning and bring them some decadent, breakfast treats from my favorite place. No, not a donut, but you get my point. And I will be absolutely at my ultimate best. And I'm fine with that. But I know I'm not good at 4 o'clock. I can write handwritten notes at 4 o'clock. I can do a lot of things at 4 o'clock. Now, here's where it comes in as far as tools. Let me ask you a simple question. Scott, what's the best camera in the world?
Oh, gosh. That's a better question for Aaron.
Aaron, what's the best camera in the world?
Friend. Best camera.
People love Reds. I think everyone would say Alexa.
Yeah?
Mashi to work at Red. Okay, Alexa. I'm going to go with Alexa.
Ari Alexa.
Lauren, what do you say?
I was going to say Red, but Alexa.
It's Alexa.
Alexa. Alexa or Red. That's
strike one, strike two, strike three.
See,
you're out.
You guys, come on.
The best camera in the world is the one that you have with you.
Yeah.
See?
So when it comes to, because you can have the greatest camera in the world, but if it's at home and you're at the top of Machu Picchu, it's not the best camera anymore, is it?
Well, the Ari Alexas are pretty much between about $40,000 and like $150,000. So
You're probably not going to have that at Machu Picchu.
That's right. So when I think about apps and tools that you can use, some people are paper people. Some people are digital people. Whether you're a paper person or a digital person, you're right. Use the one you like. Lori, my wife, she's a paper person. She's got to write things down. Guess what? She's incredibly effective. It's not me. I want to have everything in my pocket so it's right there with me wherever I go. Doesn't make one right, doesn't make one wrong. It's which one you're going to use. Now, for me, I love using the Apple ecosystem because it's on every device and it syncs automatically. And where they've gone with reminders and notes and calendar with your ability to look at your reminders that are now segmented by client or by project with subtasks, I can link websites into a reminder. I can link websites into a note. I can actually put a note inside of a reminder. And I can have a split screen with my reminders and my calendar. And I'm looking at, okay, here are all the reminders that I have, the projects that are important. And I can basically slide them onto my calendar into different time slots. So I'll sit there on a Sunday and I'll look at, okay, here's everything that I want to get done this next week. I pull up my week calendar and I start plugging each of those reminders into, because it might be, write the MLS description for 123 Main Street. It could be prepare the marketing brochure for 7 Fairway Lane. It could be, shoot a video about Coventry, whatever it is. And I'm just plugging that now into the calendar because everything is time-based. And I then get to decide which projects need me at my best, and those get the 8 a.m. to 2, and which ones are stuff that I can pretty much just put it on autopilot, and they go to the 4. I set every single item with an alert 10 minutes before and 5 minutes before. Every appointment has directions listed in the appointment so that when I get into my car automatically knows where to take me next. I don't have to plug it in. I don't have to look it up. Away I go. And so everything runs through that system. But I love that system because, like, you're a Google guy, right?
Sure.
But that ecosystem works for you. It doesn't work for me. It's okay. Use the one that's going to work for you. Use the one you like to work in, and the rest will take care of itself. But once you decide what you like to work in, go to YouTube University and learn about it. Learn everything you can about it. And oh, by the way, just because you know it now doesn't mean you're really going to know it later. Last I checked, you need to be green and growing and not ripe and rotting. Uh-oh. So every year, each of these apps gets a little bit better.
Right.
And what was Reminders, if you haven't looked at Reminders or Notes in the last 3 years, owe it to yourself, take a look. It's probably the same way with Google Docs or Google Keep or anything else. They keep tweaking and enhancing. And on YouTube, they're going to give you all kinds of guys that between 5 and 20 minutes will tell you, hey, look at what they do now. Look at what you can do now. But to the ability to marry up what I need to do with the right time of day for me to do it, that's the secret sauce.
So I got it's gold, man. I've asked that question. I don't know how many times I've thought about how to manage my time effectively and how to manage time, and I've never gotten probably a better answer. Body. Manage your body, because if you don't have your body, then it doesn't matter. You can have all the time in the world if your health is rotten. 2, manage your energy. I think it's brilliant. Understand energy and how that operates. 3, prioritize. So you're working on the right things, because you could manage your time on the wrong things, or you could spend your time on the wrong things. It doesn't matter. Prioritize. And then 4, use the tools that are right for you.
Yeah.
The best tool is the one you use.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah.
The thing especially when it relates to real estate, there's one last one, and it's coming back to the energy side. When you're on, be on. When you're off, be off. This is a 24/7, 365 business, and you can literally work. And by the way, I am my own worst enemy at this. Going back to things we talked about earlier in this podcast episode of just being driven and maniacal for success. When the workflow is just that big, sometimes you're going to work every day. I mean, up until, I can tell you, I'm going on vacation on June 13th. Go backwards from June 13th, and I will have worked 96 out of 98 days. That's not healthy. That's not good. I'm not proud of that. It's a giant failure on my part. Yes, we had the best first 5 months, best any 5 months we've ever had in the business, and I'm really proud of that. And our team got better. We tweaked things enhanced, the work that you and I and Camille are doing. Everything is absolutely in an amazing place right now. It did come at a little bit of a cost. I didn't give up some days to go and do some things I wanted to do. But I also know that right now I'm feeling so good about what we accomplished during that time period. And when I go away on June 13th, going to Lake Powell, there's no phone. There's no internet. You are off. So I would tell people, when you're on, be on. When you're off, be off. If you're going on vacation, be on vacation. Don't. You know what? Your client will still be there. Let somebody else take care of it while you're gone. But when you are at the end of your days, are you going to say to anybody, where's my phone? I need to send an email. No. In fact, you'd give up 100 yesterdays for one more tomorrow, wouldn't you?
Sure.
Yeah. So guess what? When you get to the pearly gates, they're not going to look back at your achievements and say, God, Scott, you are an all-star. Come on in. you're going to look back and say, okay, how did I influence and impact the people around me? How much joy did I spread? How much peace did I spread? How many people did I lead and help make their lives better? So when you're on, be on. When you're off, be off.
Well, I love that because that actually ties into one of the final questions of the segment. Is one of the two final questions. One is we've all been in bad environments, and they're toxic and they're demoralizing and they're energy sucking. And I've heard the term energy vampires. You know, what makes a great environment? How do you foster a great environment? And what's one of the best environments you've ever been in?
In terms of workflow?
Yeah, workflow. Like somewhere where you're fired up to come, or like, is there a place? It could be working, like you mentioned that when you got a job at Perry Morris Leasing Corporation, it lifted you up. Or is there any environment you look at where you just said, well, that's a great environment you try to
This is actually a really important question, and I'm really glad you asked it. I didn't see it coming. So this is something that I believe everybody needs to learn as quickly as possible in their professional career. When you get out of college, whether you're just out of college or whether you've been working for 10 years, 20 years, 30, whatever it is, I want you to really look hard at the environment you're working in. And my epiphany came, this is another little mini epiphany. When I got out of college, I went to work in the equipment finance business, and initially they had me working in the repo yard. So I was not in the fancy office. And, I worked my way up to be in the fancy office, and I was writing credit reports and doing not clerical, but basically stuff where you were in a cubicle. And then I progressed and I got promoted up to be in the sales force, where basically you went into the office at about 6:37 in the morning, and you got your stuff together, and by 8 you were out on the road, and you were out calling on potential prospects, potential clients for the next 8-9 hours, and you're driving to Riverside and Fontana and everywhere else, and you're on your own. You had a car phone that was actually bolted into the car.
Remember those?
I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And then when I left that and I went into working as a financial advisor at Payne Weber, I was back in an office. And then I moved to Denver and I was a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch, and I was working in an office. And I came to the realization, and it took a few iterations between the different positions in equipment leasing to then in terms of personal finance. I absolutely suck at working in an office. I am terrible when I work in an office, in a cubicle. I am awful. I respect these people so much for what they endure. And maybe they love it. I mean, like I said earlier, some people want to go to an office and have meetings and talk to people. And I am so bad at it because I could not figure out how to say hi 5 different ways to the same guy as I walk down the hall. It's like, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. I mean, stop it. It's just so fake. It drove me bananas. But I looked back as when I was in the repo yard, great. I got to just focus and go. When I was in equipment finance and I was out in the field, focus and go. I'm now on the phone. I got my list of calls. I got my people that I'm going to see. I'm coming back. I'm writing notes all by myself. I'm writing credit reports. Well, now, got a minute. Next thing you know, you're talking about who won the football game and, well, we got a basketball pool and all these things. Not effective. And it drove me bananas. So I would tell everybody, as early as you can in your career, figure out, where do I thrive and where do I suck? I'm terrible in an office. If you tell me to go to an office every single day with a bunch of people, no offense to the people that I work around, it's not effective. It's not efficient. I don't like it. But you leave me out on my own as a maverick, go. I am on fire and I am loving it. Some people left alone, they're doing laundry. They're checking the fridge. They're going to the grocery store, playing solitaire, and they can't do it. because they just don't have that discipline. It doesn't make them bad people. They need to understand that that's not a productive environment for them. They probably need to be in an office with somebody overseeing them. And one isn't right, one isn't wrong. It's just identifying how am I wired and where am I going to thrive. It's like a house plant. Put it over here and it thrives. Put it over here and it dies. Be in tune with what makes you really productive as far as an environment goes.
How about in terms of the network, supportive network? Who is your support network?
Well, the king of my support network died last year. And that was that then led to what we talked about earlier, like, okay, now what? Support network is really, really important, especially in real estate. In real estate, you need, if you have a spouse, your spouse has to be on board. They have to understand that there are going to be family dinners you miss. There are going to be weekends that you're gone, doing an open house, whatever it is. There are prices to pay. That's just called being a great realtor. But your spouse, significant other, needs to be on board. If you have children, your children need to be on board. At the end of the day, though, I think that you have two really important support networks that are not your family. One of those are other realtors. Find a tribe. Find realtors. Could be me, could be somebody else. Somebody who aligns with the way you believe the business should be done. We are 92% repeat and referral business. We are highly relational with our people. I know agents that do twice the business that we do, and they're highly transactional. They're on Google pay-per-click. They make a ton of money. They do a great job for their clients. They're on the phone every morning from 9 a.m. to 11:30, just smile and dial, and it's a great system for them. I'm not going to relate to that guy. That's not our business. So he's not in my support network. But I've got others who do business the way I do it, and they're like, yeah, you know what? I'm having a rough day. I'm calling them. Or I'm up against a tricky transaction, or I'm negotiating something I haven't seen before. I'm calling one of my people saying, hey, need your help on this. What do you think? Another beautiful thing about EXP is that they're always ready, willing, and able to help. So make sure you've got a network of realtors that look at the industry and build their business the way you do. If you like cold calling, if you like door knocking, knock yourself out. I'll get you motivated. I'll get you fired up, but I don't have any techniques. I have no ways to help you in that. But if you're going to be somebody that wants to have deep, meaningful relationships with your clients that last for decades, that produce multiple transactions and referrals, yeah, then I'm your guy. So I have a network of realtors. The second one is yourself. You have to have an unwavering belief in yourself. It doesn't mean that every day I'm Clark Kent, I am all powerful, nothing bothers me, I'm never having a bad day, I'm never in a bad mood, it's awesome. Doesn't work that way. Welcome to life. Sorry. Someone's going to urinate on your cornflakes someday, and it's not going to be good. You're just going to have a bad day. Your best friend's going to list their house with somebody else, and they didn't tell you. It's going to happen. Happened to me once. But if you have taken care of you with affirmations, another great book, maybe I mentioned this earlier, What You Say When You Talk to Yourself, Shad Helmstetter, amazing book, The Power of Affirmations. If you don't know what they are, look them up. They're easy, but it's a way to reprogram your mind as to when you get kicked in the teeth. It's going to hurt. It doesn't matter how mentally strong you are. It's going to hurt. And it usually hurts emotionally more than it does physically. But if you have been feeding yourself with great sleep, great hydration, great food, working out, meditation, affirmations, now you are better equipped to withstand the moments that knock you to your knees. If you don't have those things, you just might get out of the business. And I can tell you, one of my favorite agents, probably 7-8 days ago. This is one of the best agents in all of Denver. Incredibly successful. And calls me almost on the verge of tears. And her first words were, "Talk me off the ledge. Talk me off the ledge." And we spent probably 30 minutes just drilling into the gain, not the gap. How are we going to move forward? You know, let's reminisce on all the wins, all the successes. Let's think about all the people you've helped. Because even at the most successful levels, you're going to get knocked down, and you need to have yourself as the number one person. Because if you haven't taken care of you, if you are not the number one person in your support network, when the others are gone or unavailable, you're the only one left in your support network, and you're going to fall flat on your face if you haven't learned how to pick yourself up. Does that make sense?
True.
And that's in any industry, but real estate in particular is a very lonely occupation. You are by yourself a lot. So,
Wade, we covered 10 hidden costs of traditional brokerages, and we even contrasted it to some of the advantages of EXP. Any final thoughts before we switch to some other subjects and take a break here? Any final thoughts? If somebody's considering EXP, or they're not happy where they are, why EXP? Why would they want to be working with EXP?
The number one thing before somebody makes a change, this is really important. I used to tell agents when they would want to come over, they'd say they're coming from another company and they're interviewing with me. The things that held you back where you are will likely be the same things that hold you back here. And you will find them in the mirror every morning when you shave or you put on your mascara. You have to address you first. But if you're at a firm and you're giving it your all and you are proud of what you're doing and you're selling, but you're not keeping as much as you want, you got to ask yourself, am I not getting the mentoring that I need? Is the area of mentorship unavailable where I am? Am I at a company that really loves online leads and Smile and Dial and, chat bots, etc., and that's not you? Then you're probably at the wrong company. If you are, if you are giving a ton of money to your brokerage, and I'll give you an example. This is a perfect example for people when they're getting ready to make a switch, especially if they're going to make a switch to a very different type of company, like a major national brand, and now you're going to look at a cloud-based brokerage like EXP. And when Lori and I did this, I said to her, okay, number one, I want you to go and have coffee with 20 of your best friends that we market to. And I want you to ask, what brokerage do I work for? What real estate company do I work for? Lori did this, went with 20 of her friends. All 20 said Perry Properties Group. Not one said Coldwell Banker at the time. Now, don't get me wrong. Coldwell Banker is a wonderful company, and they provide a lot of great stuff for people. But people had identified that Lori works for Coldwell Banker. That Lori works for Perry Properties Group. Okay, part two of this exercise is, how much money do we give them? And at the time, it was just under $80,000 for the year. And I said to her, okay, Lori, we just gave Coldwell Banker close to $80,000. What of those tools are we using? And the tools that we are using, what type of an impact are they having? Are they bringing us leads? Are they pivotal to how we keep people engaged in our business? And the answer was no, not really. It doesn't mean the tools weren't very good. We weren't using them, or they just weren't very effective, or it was the matter of, I saw that tool from my other 5 friends that work at Coldwell Banker, so it's all the same. Again, Coldwell Banker, great company, provide a lot of good stuff. So the first was, who do you work for? Mm-hmm. Who does your network think you work for? Number 2, how much money did you give them? And what's the ROI coming back from all that money? And you got to ask yourself, I'm a business owner, and I base my business on profit, not on revenue. Two guys make the same revenue. One guy makes 50% more profit. The guy making 50% more profit goes on vacation to the Four Seasons. The guy that doesn't stays home. True or false?
True.
100% true. So then ask yourself, where's the ROI? And if you're looking down, and then the third part is, do I have the people or person here that is going to help me get from where I am to where I want to go? Because a great realtor will sell $5 million. And you know what he's saying? I need to get to 10. Then he sells 10. He says, I need to get to 15. Then 15, then 20. Guess what? Do you have the people around you at your brokerage that can get you there? And have you had a discussion with them? And if you don't think they can get you, then you're probably at the wrong place. Because you got to have the right mentor. You got to have the right tools. You got to have the ability to be very ruthless and look at, are these tools worth paying for or not? And if they're not, well, then you should probably start talking to people and talk to several people, because moving is kind of a pain. You got to rebrand. You got to do new signs. The beautiful thing about EXP is you only have to do it once because the brand is yours. And then sit down and really think about pros and cons. Who's going to help me get where I really want to go? What is my ultimate goal? Is my goal to be a relational or transactional? Is my goal to sell 20 million, 30 million, 40 million? What is the goal, and will all of this get me there? And if the answer is no, then you should probably be making a change. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Green and Growing. Don't miss out on future episodes. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast, and connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for exclusive updates. Your engagement helps us to continue to provide valuable insights to our growing community. And remember to stay green and growing. Thanks for watching.